Good morning, Gladys. Right, it looks like you're the only one in the room, in the workshop. And hopefully others will join as we go along. But it's good to see you here. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Punctuality is always a sign of professionalism, and your being here is a signal that you're very serious about this candidacy program, Gladys. So thank you for making the time and prioritizing us in your busy schedule. So we will start now. You're the only one in, but we are going to give you all the respect. We're going to start now because you've made the effort, and others will join us as we go along. Okay, so Gladys, feel free if you want to post maybe a question in the chat, you can do that, and we will be able to engage with you as we go along. Then let me just give Andy a moment to also just greet, because he's with me and he's going to be doing most of the presentation today.
Hi, Gladys.
Andy?
Yes, hi, Gladys. I'll be doing most of the presentation because it's the workshop on continuing professional development, which is the workshop that I usually run for all of the other ASDSA members. So that's the reason why you don't get Jonathan this time, you get me. But Jonathan is going to start by doing the recap of things arising out of our last workshop. So Jonathan, I'm going to hand over to you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Gladys, so welcome to the workshop once again. And what we'd like is just to think back and reflect on the ethics workshop that we conducted the last time. So Andy, can we move to the next slide, please? We then we covered all of the issues around ethics, and you'll remember that during that workshop there was a slide, this particular slide, where we spoke about the issue of trying to find a balance between all the various factors at work. You know, when it's time for you to make the right decision and do the right thing. So remember, we spoke about what does the code of conduct say about the rules. So when you're faced with a decision, you've got to consider that. What does our code of conduct say at the municipality? Now you also have to consider, what does the ASDSA code of conduct say about this matter? And then there's the issue of morals. And you've got to think about, what does society generally feel about this matter that I need to decide now? You know, if it's about, let's say, someone offering you a bribe, or you see someone doing something wrong, you've got to think about that. What would society expect me to do in this situation? Then you've got to think about your own personal values. You know, what do you say is right? What do you say is the wrong thing in this situation? What should I decide? And then there's the one thing that also came up towards the end of the workshop last time, and that is the risk of doing the right thing. And you'll remember some of the colleagues were talking about how they are scared of being victimized at work if they were to speak when they see something wrong. So now the question was, how do you find a balance between all of these things when it's time to make a decision? Next slide, Andy. So with that, we then said, where do you stand? You know, where do you stand? Where do you make your own stand when it comes to taking the right decision and doing the right thing? You remember we said that the only thing that evil needs to flourish is for good people to do nothing. So you can't do nothing, and you know that's the point that we were discussing. So you were then challenged as a group, and each in your own individual capacity, you were challenged to say, given the risks that I might face if I do the right thing, given that I might be victimized, I might lose my job, I might even get injured or killed for that matter. With all of those things, what am I prepared to do? What am I willing to do? And we challenged you to make a personal commitment to yourself. No? So we left you with that. Next, Andy. We left you with that thought to say, what am I prepared to do? Okay, one more, Andy. And we said, what are you prepared to commit to? What are you going to change in the way that you conduct yourself at work, right? In view of all of those things that we discussed in the workshop. So now the question is today, and we did say last time that when we start the next workshop, we will reflect on the things that we've discussed. And we will ask you to share your experience, to share with us what is it that you tried to do, what is it that you tried to change. So right now, I'm going to put the question to you. Have you made any changes since that workshop as a result of those discussions? Have you thought about those things? Have those things come to mind when you saw things at work happening? And maybe you have something that you would like to share with us that, you know, came to mind or that you experienced, or a different action that you took as a result of that workshop. So anything that you'd like to share with us, Gladys, or maybe you still need more time to think about those things, you know, anything that you'd like to share with us, any thoughts. So you can unmute, Gladys. Andy, will the system allow it to unmute herself?
Should do, yeah, I don't think there's a problem.
Okay, so you can just unmute, Gladys, and then let's hear you. I mean, it's just yourself, so we can have the conversation. Okay, otherwise you could just type something in the chat if you like. Okay, Gladys is still muted. So Andy, what I'll suggest is that you then proceed from here. And then as we go along, Gladys, if you'd like to, you know, to come in, you can either unmute or you can just post something in the chat. I will be watching the chat box as we go along. And so, so that we can then engage you with any questions or comments that you may have. I see that Keino has joined us. Welcome, Keino. Good to have you with us. We've just started now. And perhaps just because it's only yourself, maybe we could just also extend the invitation. I can't quite remember whether you attended the last workshop on ethics. But if you did, we were just saying to Gladys now, and by the way, it's just the two of you at this point in time. So we were just saying to Gladys, and now I'm extending it to you as well. If there were any things that you changed as a result of the previous workshop on ethics, if there was an incident and the issues that were discussed in the workshop came to mind, and you know the way that you responded to the situation was as a result of those discussions in the previous workshop. You know, perhaps you could just, we're giving a moment for you just to share with us any experience that you had, anything that you changed, anything that you did differently when you were confronted with a kind of an ethical situation and you needed to make a decision. Okay, so you can just unmute yourself, or you can just type something in the chat if you like, if you prefer.
Dano, I see that you unmuted, but I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah, there might be an audio problem there. Okay, Andy, I'm going to suggest then that you proceed with the presentation. And as we go along, okay, there's something in the chat now. Good morning, apology for sounding late. Going by my desktop, will be able to see and hear. Okay. All right. Thank you, Gano, and welcome. All right. Okay, Andy, over to you.
Oh, thanks, Jonathan. So just to recap, Gano, I'm running the workshop on continued professional development because I typically run this workshop for the other ASDSA members. We run it every quarter for ASDSA members of the designation to help people understand what their obligations are with regards to CPD. So let me take you through it. As there are only 2 of you in the workshop, I'm going to move relatively quickly. So the point of CPD is about how do you ensure that you remain current in your field? Because that's obviously a requirement as a professional, that you are current. And this is particularly important for people like us in our field, because the skills development field is undergoing dramatic change on an ongoing basis. Now, obviously, you're aware that there are continuing changes to skills development legislation and regulations. For example, the old legacy qualifications are being phased out or going, they're gone. The new occupational qualifications are coming in. There's a lot to learn about how to run these occupational qualifications. They look similar, but so you know, it's easy to be stuck in an old paradigm, but there's some profound differences and you've got to get your head around them. So there's lots of stuff happening there we need to keep track of. Then also for IR, you know, I think more and more the people I encounter in a learning environment expect that there's a much greater level of, and I've called it technology-enabled learning. People are starting to expect that they're not going to be sitting all the time face-to-face in a classroom. They're starting to expect it happens in other ways, and it's not simple. You know, it's a transition process, and we're not even sure quite what the end result is going to look like in terms of where we wind up with technology-enabled learning. So there's a lot there that we're all obliged to keep track of. Significant changes in how qualifications are delivered. Already spoken a bit about that in terms of the change to occupational qualifications. And then also I'm seeing as well that I think that there's more and more people are looking not just locally, but they're looking at a global level for learning experiences and qualifications. For example, one of the major banks use a UK-based qualification for their senior bankers, not a local qualification. And I think that from learners' side, they're not expecting that learning is just going to be from a local provider. It could be anywhere, you know, particularly if you are learning on a remote basis, you could be studying anywhere. Now that poses a real challenge to us in the field, because people are looking to us to give them best-in-class learning. And we need to know where it is and also how to support it. So there's a lot of stuff happening in our field on an ongoing basis, and keeping track of it is a big challenge. And that's a requirement as a professional, that you're on top of what's currently happening. So the CPD then is really about confirming that you actually are on top of it. Primarily, the starting point is you must be yourself know. You need to know that you know what's going down, that you haven't missed big stuff. Because if you have missed stuff, then you wind up, can be very embarrassed when you don't know what's actually happening and what people are expecting you to know about. So that's in the first instance. It's a way of making sure that you know that you are on top of your game. And of course, it's also then can convince your colleagues and your clients that you are on top of your game. Which means then that the first instance, CPD is actually the member's responsibility. It's up to the member with the designation to ensure that they remain current, and they can show that. They can convince people. So for example, if you go for a medical procedure, you want to go to somebody, to a surgeon who is on top of the most recent ways of doing this. And they must be able to show you that they aren't out of touch with the best way to do something. And it's up to them to be able to demonstrate that to you. What the professional body can do is provide an external objective outside body that will help you confirm currency. So that's the role of the ASDSA. The ASDSA can help convince other people that you remain current. The onus, though, lies with you to make sure that you are current. Now, the requirement then from the ASDSA, in very simple terms, is that you must get a minimum of 30 CPD points annually. And that starts counting from 12 months, the 12-month period after you get your designation. Now, in getting CPD points, the ASDSA follows what's been referred to as the Parktown Agreement. In around about 2017, I think it was, quite a number of the professional bodies got together to try and reach agreement on how we would all handle CPD. The ASDSA is a signatory to that, and a number of assumptions were made by these professional bodies at that time. So the first of those is that it's a definition, if you like, that CPD is the ongoing improvement of specific designation-linked competencies. So just picking up some words, ongoing improvement, okay, and it's competencies that are linked to a designation. So it's an ongoing process, and it focuses in on your particular designation. Secondly, CPD must be something that can occur in a wide variety of circumstances, and we must support and take account of CPD in all of those circumstances. So it could be the workplace, it's a pretty obvious one. Could be when you're getting coached or mentored, could be outside your workplace, it could be through courses and workshops, it could be through self-directed learning. So you can see that it's quite wide. The areas that you can look to learning that will help you remain current is wide. The third one, it must be cognate with the designee's profession. In other words, whatever you're learning in terms of demonstrating that you're current must be linked to the profession. We're all in skills development, so it must be linked to that. The designated professional takes responsibility for CPD reports as required by the body they belong to. And we follow that as well. So basically we're saying is you must keep a track record of what you're doing to remain current. We will ask you to provide a report on it, but it's your job to keep the information, keep your report. Number 5, the CPD points are typically measured in direct hours. And I think this is quite important to bear in mind. We're saying, and this is not just the ASDSA, then it's a number of professional bodies. The minimum requirement is that one relevant CPD hour is worth 1 CPD point. So for every hour of stuff that you can say, that's me learning, you get a point. It's not more complicated than that. Now, down the track, I know other professional bodies make it a more sophisticated requirement, but currently, as far as the ASDSA is concerned, we just require that you can show that you've been learning on a one hour for 1 point basis. And then the last point, verifiable proof of attendance is the minimum requirement for awarding CPD points. I see Mbali is joining us as well. Welcome, Mbali. So this is the key thing, hey? We will require you to keep in your records some sort of verifiable proof of attendance as the minimum requirement for awarding CPD points. Now, let me talk to you, and in fact, I think it might be our next slide. Let me go there. Still a way to go. So from the ASDSA side, we make a number of undertakings to our members with a designation. One is that we will make it easy as possible for designees to undertake CPD. We will not put obstacles in the way. We'll try and make it as simple as possible. Because we're very aware that members typically, because maybe we're in the learning environment anyway, we typically have a lot of opportunities to go and learn stuff all the time. Secondly, we'll also try and make CPD opportunities available as widely as possible to our designees. So you'll see that all of the ASDSA events that we run will allow you to claim CPD points and provide you with a mechanism to confirm that you were there, that you attended. And lastly, the ASDSA will accept CPD points awarded by other professional bodies when they are for activities relevant to our designations. So, for example, you might be a member of SABPP or something similar. And if you're getting CPD points from them that talk to the designation that you've got, then the ASDSA will recognize it. So let me just expand on that point for a moment. So the key thing is that the CPD that we will recognize depends a lot on the designation that you have. So the sort of things you might be learning if you have a technician designation are focused on administration functions. As a practitioner, around implementing and managing learning. As a master, around working at a strategic level. So we would expect your activities to be relevant depending on the designation you've got. That makes sense. Please, the number of people is quite small. I see this comment in the chat room. Okay, just a comment from Gladys. Cool. Please engage with me. We're only a small group of people, so please feel free to unmute yourself or put a comment in the chat box or raise a hand or whatever if you've got any questions along the way. Okay. Two things then are essential. One is whatever you claim as a CPD activity must be verifiable. In other words, when audited, you must be able to prove your attendance or your participation. Now, one of the ASDSA policies, and it's a policy that applies to all professional bodies, is that we must audit CPD points. We must audit the continuing professional development. Our policy says that we must audit at least 10% of all CPD reports submitted by members. So not everybody gets audited, but we must audit at least 10% of all the reports that get sent to us. If we ask you to provide proof, it's only at that time that we will ask you to provide proof of your attendance or your participation in something. Otherwise, you keep it in your own records. And then the last one, I think I've already mentioned this, your CPD activities must be in line with the relevant designation competencies. In other words, if you're a practitioner, the CPD you claim must be relatable to the practitioner designation competencies. Any questions from anyone?
Andy, I see there's a comment from
during the previous
Gladys.
lesson. I learned that if you are employed, you need not take other employment opportunities at the same time, but focus on what you're doing. Gladys, I'm not sure what you're actually asking. Do you want to just expand on that?
No, it looks like she's just reflecting on one of the points that were covered in the last workshop.
Okay.
Just
I'll assume that if you want to expand on it, please do that. Okay. Now, what happens if I don't meet CPD requirements? And so obviously the ASDSA must take it quite seriously because it is a requirement for a registration as a professional body. So if you don't meet CPD requirements, you risk losing your designation. So it's quite a serious thing. And if that happens and you want to get your designation back, you actually have to start from scratch, which means you've got to pay a fee and you've got to put together a new portfolio of evidence and go through the whole evaluation process. So it is quite a serious thing. And you need, therefore, to focus on making sure that you engage in learning and you're able to show that you've engaged in learning in your CPD report. So, in a sense then, in a very big sense then, this is a planning activity. It's about planning for your CPD. It's not something that you can leave till the last moment. You know, if in 12 months' time, you've got to put your CPD report in and you actually haven't collected data along the way, it's very difficult at that point in time to scratch up some records to confirm all the learning. So our recommendation to you is right from the word go, you sit down with your diary and you look at what's possible. And we're going to do that in a minute. You say, okay, what could I see as a learning experience that I can keep a record of for my CPD report? And you start mapping it out. And if you think you're short, you go and look for additional learning experiences. And it's basic planning. I think everybody's familiar with this sort of planning cycle. I think the key thing is two key things. One is that you deliberately make a plan. I see Anna's here. Welcome, Anna, joining us. The key thing is that you plan it, you set out and you have a 12-month plan. And secondly, that you make sure as you go through that you collect the evidence. Now, I mean, I'm an SDF and I work across about 6 or 7 different CETAs. So I wound up, now my system has a mark of its own. I didn't plan that. So I go to all of the CETA forums and all of those are learning events. But how do I prove that? And that's the challenge. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. So what are the sorts of things that you could look to when you're trying to plan what could be part of your learning program for the 12-month period? So clearly anything that's formally assessed. So if you're doing any studying, part or full qualifications or skills programs where there are credits being awarded, it's an obvious event that clearly it's learning. But even if it's not formally assessed, so for example, the CETA forums, the LGSETA forums that you guys attend on a regular basis, you're spending 1 or 2, at least that sort of time. Now, if that's 7 hours each day, that's 14 hours for a 2-day event, that's 14 CPD points. So there's a lot of opportunity there for providing confirmation that you're staying on track. You could also, if you're doing research into a field related to skills development, if you're writing articles, if you're doing any groundbreaking professional work-based activities. So for example, if you're engaging, well, I mean, certainly from the ASDSA side, we put together position papers, we have a technical committee. So if you're engaged in that sort of work, that will gain you CPD points. If internally within your municipality, if you're contributing to some sort of a position paper from a skills development point of view, that could count. Self-directed learning that's not formally assessed, any self-study program. Hard thing, of course, with those things is how do you demonstrate? You've got to prove it. If you get audited, you've got to prove, actually, I spent X hours doing the self-study, and that can be hard. But it should, it's part of your learning. So the CPD report to ASDSA that's the thing that you have to produce, but obviously your learning is likely to be much wider than that because not everything you can actually demonstrate. And then lastly, your own professional contribution back to individuals or to organizations. So you get a point for membership of the ASDSA, but you can also get points for mentoring other people or for participating in formal committees as part of a professional body. You can get some points there. My one word of caution to you is this. If your CPD report is dominated by the last item, it's not going to work because the whole point of 30 CPD points is it's demonstrating that you have remained current. Okay, so the last point is valuable, but the earlier points, that's where you need to be able to prove to other people that you've remained current. So your plan and your report should be largely about your own learning. Now, within ASDSA, I mean, there's a lot of areas. This I'm just giving you by way of illustration. There are a lot of places that you can easily get CPD points. Your ASDSA membership, we've mentioned. We run every fortnight of conversations, which is a free event. They're half hour, so you only get half a point for each of those conversations, but we typically run about 20 a year. So that could give you 10 points there. We also run virtual forums, which are longer. We typically run at least 4 a year. So if you attend those, you can get at least 1 point for each of them. And then, of course, if you're member of an ASDSA committee, you can get points there. Jonathan, I've seen a message on my screen that says participants can now see my application. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you're very clear, Andy.
Okay, good.
Everything is normal this side.
You never know with rolling blackouts what's happening.
Yeah, I see a participant, one of them dropped off again. I think that's Anna.
Okay, golly. So the important considerations are, firstly, what will I include in my plan? And secondly, how can I get evidence? Those are the key things to think about. So I'm going to ask you now to take a few moments. It's what I got it by my watch. It's 10:32. I'd like you to take 3 minutes now to sit down with your diary, with your calendar, make some notes. Where do you see opportunities for yourself where you can learn and also get verifiable evidence? Now I'm going to ask people for some feedback once you've done that. So it's 10:32, then 10:35. I'm going to ask for feedback, please. Make your list.
Okay, I see Anna is back. Welcome back, Anna. I think people are experiencing load shedding and all kinds of network issues.
Please look at your diary and identify activities that for you are about your own learning and that you could then keep a record of for your CPD report. You've got another 2 minutes before I ask for feedback. By the way, there are only 4 people, so I'm going to ask each of you for feedback, please. Okay, well, 3 minutes up. Gano, can we start with you? What ideas have you got? And if you want to, you can either unmute your mic or you can put it in the chat box. Gano, if you can put in the chat box for us. In fact, while Gano is doing that, can we move on to Mbali? What have you identified in Mbali?
Can I kindly put on the chat box as well?
Go ahead. Gladys? Gladys, if you can unmute or put it in the, tell me if you're going to put it in the chat box. Okay, and Anna, please, where are you? Are you going to talk or put it in the chat box? I'm seeing nothing in the chat box yet. Colleagues, please give us some feedback.
Yeah, I know there are many opportunities for SDFs. Workshops, seminars, training that they register for, short courses, qualifications.
Alex, I see nothing. What's happening?
We're typing. Well, I'm typing. I'm typing.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm typing.
By the way, Bali, your the
Yes.
feedback that you gave us from that IMSA workshop.
Yes, yes.
That was what's the word? Invaluable. We really appreciated that feedback.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
To the extent that we actually played your voice note in the steering committee meeting. And,
How, Jonathan?
and it made a huge impact.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Hey, Gladys, I see your mic is unmuted.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
So
Gaino is asking, what was the request or the question? Okay, Andy, perhaps just a quick summary of the question again for her.
So the question is this: you need to start some planning to identify in your diary where are your opportunities for learning, particularly those that you can use to get evidence for your CPD. So what I'm asking you to do is tell me what opportunities are you seeing in your diary, and to make a list and then share that list with us.
Okay, myself is Gladys. I've unmuted. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, I can. I want to see myself doing e-mentoring and coaching and more monitoring and evaluation.
When you are mentoring somebody else, Gladys, is that what you're thinking about?
Yes.
Look, I think, as I said a bit earlier, you could have some of that in your report, but that's not so much about your own learning. It's more about the learning of others. So you'd need to have additional things more than mentoring. So you also mentioned monitoring and evaluation. What are you thinking about for there?
As a person who always maybe work with learners, learnerships and internships, that's why I'm talking about mentoring and coaching. That sometimes if I do maybe attend the courses for mentoring and coaching, will assist me to transfer the knowledge to those learners.
Listen, if you attend a program where you're learning how to mentor a coach, please, that's a very good example to include in your CPD report. That's exactly the thing that's good to include in your CPD report. Any program that you attend where you are learning is very good stuff to include in your CPD report.
Okay, thanks.
Who else has got some activities to share with us? Bali, are you still typing? Ah, there's Bali. Bali said, I have identified as our work as a training development is being exposed to accredited training workshop short courses. I create any formal programs that you go on are excellent examples for your CPD. I've already done moderate assessor courses that I've attended, as well as conferences that count toward. Yes, look, the issue is every 12 months, you need to acquire or complete activities that are worth 30 CPD points. So the stuff that's in the past is in the past. It's the stuff ahead of you. That's what you need to make sure you've got a plan around, and that you've got enough activities to be worth 30 points. In other words, you've got at least 30 hours of learning, of your own learning, and things that you can get evidence around. So, yeah, the past, not so much. It's the future that the CPD report needs to be about.
Now, you guys need to bear in mind that as soon as you achieve your designation, now with the POE submission process, as soon as you achieve your designation, you need to immediately start accumulating those points. So it's important to understand what are those activities that would help you to accumulate points once you have a designation. And some of the things that have been mentioned now are such activities. They are such activities, and they will help you accumulate. For example, Mbali, the conference that you just attended. Now, if you attend a conference like that after you've got your designation, you would need to make sure that you have evidence of having attended that conference. You understand? And so it's those kinds of activities that Andy is saying you need to think about and list them, note them down, so that you can start targeting those kind of activities once you've got your designation.
The difficulty often is that how do you get evidence? You know, if you go to a workshop, your name is going to be on the attendance register, but for POPI reasons, the workshop convener is not going to be happy if you take a screenshot of the attendance register, because there's personal information there. So that can be a challenge. I know that if you attend it remotely, often you can see who's been invited, and you can take a screenshot of that. That's, I think, public information, and probably doesn't breach POPI. But the other thing that I've seen is, and this is something that you may have to do from your own side, if you, for example, get a confirmation from the organizer or a credible person that you were there, you could use that as evidence. So you might just send an email to somebody who was there with you and say, please, will you confirm that I was at this conference with you, and these are the hours, and get them to email you back. So you could use something like that as evidence. I think I find the biggest difficulty is providing confirmation that I was there, because there's lots of things happening all the time, but how do you actually confirm that you were there? That for me is the biggest challenge. Anna, have you got anything for us? And are you with us? You making tea? No, she's Anna's muted.
Sis Anna is with us, but her laptop is not performing well. He's just seated with me, with Gladys.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, then she can speak through Gladys's mic there.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to add, Anna, that we've not spoken about?
No, for now, that doesn't mean.
Okay. Shall I move on? Ready to move on?
Yep, I think so.
Okay. All right. So, and I think a lot of what's here we've already spoken about. The 3 steps you can keep Yes.
Okay, are we getting some feedback, some background noise?
Maybe if you can mute your mics again. Thank you. Thanks, Gladys. So get a record of your CPD events, complete the report and submit, and we'll look at the report in a moment, and you'll get confirmation of your designation. Target is 30 CPD points annually, and as you know, we are obliged to audit So what happens, by the way, is once a year, you'll need to send in your CPD report. It's on the anniversary of getting your designation. We monitor the reports that come in, and we either at random choose reports for auditing, or occasionally we'll look at a report and think, hang on, but this doesn't look right. There's not enough information, or it doesn't look like it's learning information. So we might choose a report for auditing if it doesn't look right, because we do a kind of a very crude look at it. Okay. So how do you go about completing the report? Starting point then is to go to the ASDSA website. So you'll see on the website, the navigation bars along the top, and one of the navigation tabs is CPD. And if you click on that, you'll find, it looks like this is a screenshot. You'll find the CPD guideline document, which basically tells you what we're covering in this workshop. And you'll see the Word document, the CPD report that you can download. It's a Word document. It's a way for you just to summarize your activities. So what you need to do is download that CPD report off the site, save it on your computer, and as you track into the year, keep it up to date with whatever learning is taking place. And then at the end of the year, you go onto the ASDSA website again, and you'll see at the bottom there, it says, submit the CPD report. So at that point, you just upload your Word document. You don't upload the evidence. You only give us evidence if we ask you for it because we want to audit. Otherwise, you keep the evidence on your system. We just need the Word document, which is your summary. So it's all sitting on the ASDSA website, and please have a look for it. So this is what the Word document looks like. The top page has got a place for you to put your information. Hey, Mbali, can you mute, please? Mbali? Thank you. There's also a declaration that you need to make. Let me just go through the declaration. I declare that the contents of this report are a true reflection of the activities in which I've engaged during the stated period as part of my continued professional development to retain my current designation. I confirm that I have complied with and will continue to comply with both the ASDSA CPD policy and the ASDSA codes of professional practice and ethics. Here you'll put then the total number of points you're claiming for the 12-month period. You'll sign it. By the way, when you sign it, convert this to a PDF, otherwise your signature is too easy to crimp. So save this as a PDF and upload the PDF and a date. And then on the next page, you'll find basically a table where you can just list your activities. And so this is from my last CPD report. You'll see I'm very engaged with the ASDSA. So I attend lots of ASDSA sessions. This is just the first page of my report. While I'm also showing you this, you'll see that if you attend what the ASDSA offers, we will give you confirmation of attendance for all of those. So at the end of we'll show you at the end of this workshop, there will be a place you can click on the link to download CPD points, just that you can see how it works. So you're listing the name of the type of the document. And by the way, it's following exactly, as you can see, the same logic as you did with your portfolio. Okay. You list the document title, you name it and number it, and the date of the activity and the number of points that you're claiming for the activity. And same rules as before, give each piece of evidence a unique name and number, save it, and keep it on your computer. And you only, as I say, you only submit it if we ask you to do that because we want to audit your stuff. And I've covered this already, I think. I don't think there's anything new there. Okay. Submit when your renewal fees are, as you know, part of this project is that your fees are covered, in fact, not just for 1 year, but for 3 years. You get 3 years of ASDSA membership and 3 years of renewal fees. So it won't be when your renewal fees are due. It will be 12 months after you get your designation. And we will send you a reminder. Don't worry, you get a reminder. But start keeping your records from now. And you submit just the report itself in a PDF format, but you keep the evidence available on your computer in case you're chosen for an audit. And that's, in essence, what the CPD program is all about. Steps from you here then, I wanted you to start on your planning exercise, but it's not finished. You know, once you're done with the session today, please take a really good hard look at what the 12 months look like ahead of you. Certainly the development CPD workshops that we're offering as part of the program, you'll get a number of CPD points there. But you know, there are what, 3 left. They each, the remaining ones are about 3 hours. That's 9 points. It's only a third of the activities that you need. You need to add them, you need to help plan and include a whole lot of others into your learning plan for the year. So what activities are already available? How will you get evidence? If you need more, where can you get them? And will you have enough to generate 30 CPD points? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. So please, your homework to take away from here, and we'll actually ask for feedback at our next workshop, is to sit with your diary and make sure that you've got either enough already or that you can plan enough that by 12 months from now, you'll have enough activities to generate 30 CPD points. Jonathan, do you want to take back the session?
Okay. So I think of importance here, colleagues, is that you reflect on what are those activities that, you know, based on the definitions and based on Andy's presentation, what are the activities that you're going to earmark and target for yourself to be able to accumulate points moving forward. Some of them are, of course, the activities organized by the ASDSA. And you, I think in particular, you need to look at the correspondence that you receive from us, because there are some that are the fortnightly conversations that we organize, where experts will share information on specific topics, and you'll be able to accumulate points from there. Then there are, you know, other activities like these workshops, which are part of the candidacy program. So I know that sometimes the candidates become confused. There's also a general WhatsApp group that you've received a link for, where you can, and I know some of you have already joined that group, where there is the sharing of information and general conversation with all of the other members of the ASDSA. So I think you've just got to start familiarizing yourself with the different platforms that the ASDSA makes available, and specifically be aware of the ones that will enable you to accumulate points. So in a seminar like this one, we will, for example, give you a link, and I'm going to post a link now in the chat, where you will be asked to click. You can go in and click. As Andy said, it's to enable you to see and become familiar with how we do this. At the end of the workshop, you'll click on that link, you'll enter your details and submit, and then you'll receive an email, which is your evidence for you to present at the end of the year, and you'll be able to earn points for having attended the workshop. So I'm posting the link in the chat. It's there right now.
Hand up from Mbali.
Okay, Mbali, let's hear you.
Can I kindly request that you guys maybe email us the recording of today's session? Reason being, I don't know if other people share the same sentiment. It's my first time hearing a discussion around the CPD points. So I just want to listen to the whole session that we had. Then one can be able to make notes and start planning.
Well, as a matter of fact, Andy, we can post a link to this recording in the WhatsApp group.
Yes,
Am I correct?
we'll do that.
Yes.
What we do, Mbali, is that we run an active YouTube account. And so these sessions will be recorded and will be available in that. We'll send a link to this in the YouTube account. By the way, all the recordings of the conversations events and the virtual forums are also in that YouTube account. So it's very useful to go and have a look at it if you missed a session and you want to catch up on it. But of course, it's difficult to get CPD points if you're not there because you can't get them after the event. But certainly if you want to catch up on something, you'll find it there. But we'll undertake to get a copy of the link sent to everybody in the group.
Yeah, so we will do that. Thanks, Bali. So you'll find the link then in the candidacy group 1 WhatsApp group, and you'll be able to access it there. But just click on the link now, the CPD points link in the chat, enter your name, your surname, your email address, and submit. And you'll see you'll receive an email confirming your CPD point. Now this you need to keep in a certain folder somewhere. And that's a part of the evidence that you gather. So at this point in time, if you don't have your designation yet, which is the case with yourselves in the room at the moment, you won't be able to use these points. When they become meaningful is as soon as you achieve your designation. But it's good for you now to become familiar with the process. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it then, Andy. If there's any other question, guys, question of clarity.
The last slide, Jonathan. The review process. Okay. Sure.
Okay. So what we'd like to do then, I mean, this is now what we normally would do with our workshops, our development workshops. We'd like you to just reflect on what we've covered in this session. Go away, think about even more activities that come to mind, list them down, start, lining up the kind of activities that that you'll be able to attend, training you'll register for, workshops you'll attend, and those kind of things. And then when we start the next workshop, we can then just, reflect on what are the kinds of things that you've come up with, that you've thought about, the training programs that you're going to register yourself for, just as a way of reflecting on what have you done to prepare yourself for the accumulation of CPD points as soon as you've achieved your professional designation. So on that note, so I'm going to leave you with that homework to do, and then we will have that discussion when at the beginning of the next workshop, and just reflect and ask you guys for some feedback. So with that, before we close, perhaps just a quick chat around what are the key challenges that you're experiencing with the current compilation of your portfolio. Things haven't gone as we had anticipated. There's been excessive delays, and we are still within the project timelines, the overall project timelines. So that's fine. But we were hoping that by this point we would have made a lot more progress. From my point of view, I have realized that a lot of the candidates have been experiencing work pressure, which has prevented them from, doing what they would have liked to have done so far. But let's just hear what are the main challenges that you are experiencing at the moment? I know that, Kano, we are in the process of discussing, and, based on our last WhatsApp chat, you are waiting for me to come back to you with feedback, and then we're going to schedule a session to have one more discussion around your POE that you've uploaded. But let's just hear, what are the key challenges, guys? Remember that we also gathering this information because we are on a journey of continuous improvement to the delivery model of the program. So we really would like to hear, what are the main challenges that you experience on this journey?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Gladys. Yes, let's hear you.
I just want to share some maybe challenges that I experienced as an individual. My challenge is what is the collecting of the evidence. To me, it was a challenge. Maybe that's why I delayed maybe to submit my POE. The collecting of evidence was a challenge, and the timing. When sometimes when we do have workshops like this, or time when you say, now I want to prepare my POE while at work, it is more challenging, because sometimes when I'm in a workshop like now, something urgent might come to say from my superior to say, hi Gladys, attend this, it is urgent. Then I need to leave the workshop, go and attend what I'm supposed to, because no one has to do it. So the blame is shifted to me if I don't attend, while at the same time I'm expected to be in the workshop. So that is my challenge, which I think other colleagues that I'm working with, is the challenge that we are facing as a whole.
Similar challenge, yeah. Okay. Well, that's very important for us to hear and to know, because we will take these kinds of discussions back to the steering committee, and as you know, the steering committee includes the LGSETA project manager, and so we need to hear these kind of things so that we can go back and go back to the drawing board in a sense, to reflect. The other thing, of course, is to think about what kind of additional support can we offer to candidates, when we understand the kind of challenges that you experience. So work pressure is one that I've actually been sharing in the steering committee meetings, because I experience it from just the one-on-one engagements with yourselves, and sometimes the struggles to secure mentorship sessions because of workload and other commitments. So thanks for that, Gladys. Anyone else?
Can I please come through, Jonathan?
Yes, Mbali. Go for it.
I concur with my colleague. I also have a challenge of work overload. I think what has affected me mostly is that because of the change in political party in my municipality, most employees were moved from their post, and some of their duties are now reallocated to my office as the training and development unit. Just 2 weeks back, I was called and told that I would be responsible as well for the employment equity, which is something that I've never done before. Well, that is not really an excuse. I'm not really saying I won't be able to do that. But I won't lie, I am under pressure. I don't get time to do anything. So, and then the second problem that I have, I think I shared this with you, Jonathan, the last time that we had our session, is that most of my problem is that I didn't use to document all the activities that I've been doing as the training and development unit. I would just sit with my manager and then we'll just have a discussion, you know. So now I struggle to have something that is documented, which can serve as a POE of what I've done according to the POE template. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, no, I understand.
Yeah, but that is my main challenge. Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
make a suggestion, Bali? And I'm not sure how much it'll help you, but I think the problem that you're talking about is often experienced by people trying to put together a portfolio. And it's a very real difficulty. And you know, it's bad enough when it's a recent event, but sometimes people are looking back to things that they did 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's almost impossible to get good evidence at that point in time. And maybe the best that you can do is rather try and include more testimonials in your evidence. You know, what I mean by testimonial, if you can write out what you did and what results were obtained using the guideline, you know, the questions that are asked in your workbook. So write that explanation out and then get a credible person in your organization to confirm it by signing it. You could use that as evidence. So a credible person could be certainly your manager or some senior person. You could get them to sign your testimonial. And why I say write it out yourself is because you know what information you want them to confirm. They're not going to know unless you guide them closely. So I would suggest doing that. If you really cannot get evidence, try looking at testimonials as an alternative. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
Thank you for that input. I think I will do that. I will then ask my HR manager. I think I can even get the municipal manager's signature for that. I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Normally people are, you know, if you write it out for them, there's not much work that they have to do. And as long as they agree that you're not stretching the truth, then you're asking for a signature. It's not much work from their side. And normally people will be quite supportive.
Okay, hopefully that helps you, Mbali. I see Gaino also similar thing, challenges collecting evidence, capacity issues, no tools of trade. Gaino, can you please just elaborate a bit more on the capacity issues and the no tools of trade? You probably have an audio problem there that you it forces you to rather put something in the chat, but just explain to us perhaps in the chat what you mean by capacity issues and no tools of trade. But I think the work pressure issue, the reality is that we will not be able to get away from work pressure. All sectors experience extreme work pressure, private sector, public sector, it's across the board. And we're not going to be able to wish it away. So I think, you know, we've got to try and find a way of managing it. And for me, it's about saying, how do I prioritize? How do I plan my diary in such a way that I do justice and find a balance with all of the things that I need to deal with? Now, part of that, and I mean, if we use the time management as a broad topic there, part of it is about even being able to confront a situation where I am sorry, but I am unable to take on this additional responsibility because look at what I'm currently confronted with, you know. So at some point, there's a need for that kind of robust conversation, even with your superiors, you know, because there has to be some kind of consideration for the fact that, you know, practically speaking, you can only deal with X amount of things, and anything above that is setting you up for failure. So, and I know this is much easier said than done, especially in a smaller municipality where they will, like now, they've lumped employment equity onto your plate because the likelihood is that there's no one else and it must be done. So, but what I'm saying is there needs to be some way in which, you know, you find a mechanism for managing work pressure, because honestly, it's very difficult to sidestep it. You still need to.
Jonathan, Gaynor's given some comments in the box. It's useful just maybe have a look.
Let's have a look.
And read them. Do you want to read them?
Right, let's have a look. Gaynor says, acting as labor relations officer and recruitment and selection officer since September, currently have an intern. Currently have an intern that I'm trying to train to assist where possible. No laptop or data from employer, can't work after hours without these tools. I see. Sure. Andy, any comments there?
Listen, I've got nothing clever that I can suggest. It's difficult, I can see that.
Yeah,
Just
it's
really
extremely difficult. Okay, so she doesn't have the necessary resources.
Yeah, particularly you're getting extra things into your responsibility.
She's got extra things to do. She doesn't have a laptop. She doesn't have data from the employer, so she can't work at home. She doesn't have that stuff at home to continue working on a POE, for example. Yeah, that's
tough one.
Yeah,
it's a tough one.
That's a difficult one, because having a laptop at home, you basically expand your functional hours. But if you don't have the means to do that, then yeah, I don't know how. Sure. Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, Gaynor, I'm really hoping that somewhere along the line, your employer will see the need for you to be given the tools. I can't think that a municipality can be incapable of giving people the tools to do the job. Is there any way that you can perhaps use the LGSETA pressure from that side? Because you also have LGSETA deadlines that you need to meet, and for which you do need to have a laptop at home to do some of those things as well. So, you know, maybe you could cleverly use your LGSETA provincial manager to assist in convincing your employer that you need those tools. I don't know.
Okay, no, I'm seeing last comment about the private laptop. Look, if you have access to a private laptop, you can access the ASDSA system directly. You know, you've got a login, so you can access this directly. You don't have to work through your employer's system to do that. I don't know if that helps you. And then also Gladys is saying issue of load shedding also contributing a lot. I hear you.
Yeah, no, load shedding is there as well. Another impediment, ever-present impediment, and the load shedding affects internet connectivity. So yeah, the whole country is confronted with that reality.
Look, I mean, what I'm hearing is a big part of what the difficulties that people are experiencing are external things, which there's not much that we could do about it, unfortunately. Are there any more internal things where you've got questions around how to put together the POE or anything like that? Is there anything that we could actually help you with?
Yeah, I think that's perhaps an empowering question. What do you think the ASDSA could do to help you?
I mean, if anything, there might not be anything that, you might be quite comfortable with what's required. So
Yeah. Besides,
not necessarily the case that there's something that we could do, but if there is anything, please let us know.
yeah. Okay, so we've noted all the challenges.
Yeah, I think we probably covered the ground, Jonathan.
Yes, yes, thank you, Andy. Colleagues, thank you very much for participating. I hope you've all clicked on the CPD points link and seen how it works. So please reflect then on the activities that you could potentially attend once you've got your designation. Reflect on that, think about them, list them, and let's hear your feedback when we start the next workshop, so that we can just hear how your thinking is and how your planning is for the accumulation of CPD points on the road that lies ahead. Beyond that, you'll be hearing from me one-on-one, so that we can then, as soon as possible, try and finalize your POEs. Gladys, we are done. We are done, and well done so far, but I'll be supporting the other colleagues equally, and we need to finalize so that the evaluations can get done as soon as possible. Okay, on that note, is there any other question, comment?
Thank you, Jonathan. The workshop was so fruitful to us. Yes, it is an eye-opening. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Can hear you. Thank you,
Yes,
Gladys. I hear you.
Yeah, it is an eye-opening, but I tried to click on the link. It didn't work. When you said you must try it and click it, I tried, but it says it can, the page cannot be found. It says like that. I didn't click on the link.
Oh, so
the time you said it, try to click on the link. Yes, it didn't.
Try it again now. I've just clicked on it myself, and it is opening.
Yeah.
It might be a problem on your system, Gladys.
Yeah, it might be your system.
Yeah, maybe it might be a network issue on our side.
It might be your system, yeah.
Okay, I'll try it, but once more.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much, everyone. All the best.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care. Thank you, Andy.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.